The 10 o'clock news, this is Steve Valens.
Well, that's completed Princess Anne's education, hasn't it, eh? Meeting that slag.
Allan Beswick.
4.5 minutes past 10. It will be in exactly a minute, because it's 3.5. I'll do. Mind you could say that kind of thing from Andy Rice Davis. I don't mean meeting that, no, I mean her education is complete. Meeting a horse-faced woman that rides a horse. I mean, God, hope she didn't bite her. Grudge. But not much of one anyway. We'll dedicate that record, Dreadlock Holiday by 10cc, to the England cricket team, particularly to the big ugly pleb, Ian Botham. Well, you've got to give them some favours. Oh, but they don't like cricket right now. Apparently they're having a good time, which pigs me off more than out. Still, never mind, I suppose I'd have a good time if we were getting our stuff in. As a direct result of Britain's superb postage system, there is still time for you to take part in the write-in competition. You simply put your answer to the given question on a postcard or a sealed-down envelope, or indeed send it in a letter to me, Allan Beswick, Red Rose Radio, P.O. Box 301, Preston, PR1 1YE. Now, the prize this week is the top 3 LPs, which last week included Aha and 2 others. And I'm pigged if I can remember. Never mind. Oh yes, one was Aha, one was a compilation of love songs. It's actually doing very well at the moment, hence it's in the top 3. And I can't remember the other one to save my life, but never mind, all 3 are doing very well. I think it was Depeche Mode, but it may well be a different 3, or at least one of them will sure be different this coming Saturday. But the top 3 LPs nevertheless. Plus, of course, a free go at the jackpot on It's Your Turn on Sunday. Now, the jackpot on Sunday, indeed for the whole of April, is a weekend in Jersey this spring. That's a weekend for 2, in actual fact. 2 people fly out to Jersey, accommodation provided, and indeed they'll even have a car hire thrown in, providing they've got a driving licence and all that, but if not, then we might even give you a bus fare. But you get flown out there just the same, and you'll have a good time, I'm sure. Now, the question, I suppose it's quite important. In which television series has the character called Moxie become an Irishman? Alright? In which television series has the character called Moxie become an Irishman? If you know that, send it to me, Allan Beswick, Red Rose Radio, P.O. Box 301, Preston, PR1 1YE. Not, I might add, supplied by any of the cretins with their distorted banjo garbage and electronic so-called drum machines, but by people of taste purchasing in large quantities, or at least lots of people with taste purchasing one each, records of yesteryear. Examples in recent history have been easily identifiable, such as New York, New York, a somewhat repetitive title to a superb tune by a gentleman labouring under the name of Frank Sinatra, he of the multitudinous comeback, which I thought was a Welsh fellow getting very excited, but apparently not. Now, there is another fellow of that ilk, perhaps not as good, but a brilliant songwriter called Sam Cooke. And he believes, and has maintained for some years now, that it was, and is, a wonderful world. Emergencies such as poisoning, displaying your photo is much more hygienic than shoving fingers down a patient's throat. It's not very nice, is it? And would you please say how do, good evening, or words to that effect to me, Daryl Matthew. No, it's not. It's Daryl, Matthew, Jason, and anyone that knows me. In fact, it's not. It's me, Dilwyn. Daryl, Matthew, Jason, and anyone else listening to you that goes to Yegol e Crudin, which is Welsh for Crudin School. So school means Yegol, does it? Smart. I have a king-size Mars bar as a hostage, and failure to do any of the above will result in my letting it die. Slowly, by the death of 1,000 cuts. Can't get 1,000 cuts in a Mars bar. Such is life. Victoria Drive, Llandudno Junction, Gwynedd, North Wales.
Leo's Carpets, Leo's Carpets.
Looking at Leo's Carpets for a beautiful new look in 86. We have the very best selection of carpets, including a lion-size range of wool carpets. We guarantee quality workmanship and fitting, free measuring and estimating. And as our choice is so good, if you can't find the carpet for you at Leo's, we don't think you'll find one anywhere. Leo's Carpets, open 6 days and late night Thursday.
Leo's Carpets, Leo's Carpets.
Great value too at Cherry Tree Blackburn.
Good morning, Lancashire.
Morning, Paul.
Red Rose weather, staying cold with top temperature of 2 Celsius, 36 Fahrenheit. Traffic and travel now, here's Derek Webster.
And some of the roads in the county are quite icy this morning, so...
The 9 o'clock news, this is Douglas Cameron.
Here with Milliner this morning. Hello.
Hello, David.
We've got Susan on the line.
Hello.
Susan, you got an upright freezer?
Very good afternoon to you. Let's see if we can put 4 people in work in Lancashire today.
And that will stop just about all nosebleeds.
And at this point, Elvis Presley well ahead of David Bowie on our pop superstars.
That doesn't convince anybody here, and it convinces very few over there.
Red Rose reports, this is Fraser Shepherd.
At the scene of yesterday's accident...
After the Red Rose non-stop top 20.
And everyone in party mood. This is the whole atmosphere of the Preston Prawns.
Oh, don't be giving me all that garbage.
It's 2:30 in the morning on Nightline.
And I hope you'll join me for the Network Chart Show.
And your colleagues have put me up to this.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to kill them.
It's the Northwest's favourite radio station.
I'm not sure I like the idea of having my name in a promotion, and indeed my voice in a promotion that has some young woman of dubious repute saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to kill them. Threats of death are no way to advertise a radio station. Heavens above." Then again, I suppose we could say, if you don't listen to Red Rose, we're going to come round and kill you. That might actually do the trick. I take it all back, Mr. Green, producer of Promotion Extraordinaire. You've hit the nail on the head. Threaten the swine. That's how we'll get 'em to listen. I'm glad I've got that off my chest and other parts of my anatomy at the front.
Ring him if you dare. Allan Beswick, the late night show.
And the number on which to do so is Preston 561,000. The lines are open now. But here's a little tune by Atlantic Star. Sounds like a shipping line in Liverpool, doesn't it? Hey, the job's a good one. 10.5 minutes to 11. We'll be taking our first call after a little jingle that will remind you who I am. We'll be talking to Jackie. And if you want to join us, the number on our already engaged switchboard is Preston 561,000.
Allan Beswick.
I'll do Jackie.
Hello, Alan. Alan?
Yes, what do you want?
I'm just phoning up to ask you something about last night's show. Yeah?
Turn your radio off, Jackie.
Pardon?
Turn your radio off.
Radio off. Right. Oh,
Your radio's still on, Jackie. Goodbye. I'll do Kev.
Hello, Alan. I've got a joke for you.
Have you begun?
Yeah. Do you know what, can you tell me what an hospice is?
I don't want to know that joke. I'll do Alan.
hello, Alan. I've got a Commodore 64 computer, and my mum bought a game for me a couple of months back, and it was from the wrong computer, and it was the wrong game anyway. So I got the receipt. And
Well, just a minute. What do you mean the wrong game anyway?
Well, it was the wrong game. She didn't buy me the right game that I wanted.
I see, but it is the right game that she asked for.
She asked for the right game, but it wasn't the one I asked for, off her.
Just
Right?
a moment. No, just a moment. Let us introduce something of some order into this conversation. You wanted game number 1, for want of a better number, and your mother went along and said, could I have game number 2? They supplied number 2. When it arrived home, you said, that's number 2, I want number 1. Is that a correct scenario?
Yeah, that's right. And it was for the wrong computer anyway.
And did she state which computer it was for?
Well, she got it for the Spectrum, so it was totally the wrong computer.
So she ordered entirely the wrong product.
Yeah.
But was supplied... Well, this is important, Alan. Was she supplied with what she ordered?
Yeah.
Right.
And anyway, I got the receipt, I took it back to the shop, and I explained what had happened. And they took the telephone number off me, my telephone number. They asked for my telephone number so they could verify it at home with my mother, as if they didn't believe me. And then, all they did was change it for the same game for my computer, which wasn't the game I wanted anyway. And they said that if I took another game back, with receipt or not, they wouldn't change it.
Well, all I can say, Alan, is that they've done more than they're legally required to do. The error lies with your mum, not with the shop. She asked for a specific product and was supplied with it. The fact that she didn't want that product is not the shop's fault, they, surprisingly, one might suspect, but they cannot read minds. So they supplied what was asked for. So any rectification they offer, no matter how trivial and how superficial that rectification may be, they are offering you more than you are entitled to. So I'm afraid you're stuck with it.
Yeah, on the subject of computers, just...
Well, there's no subject of computers. You have had your conversation. That is it. Hello, Jassy. Tracy.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Alan. I've often listened to your show about you discussing nuclear arms and the use of them and the deterrent that they have, or do not have. And it somewhat alarms me that people are so concerned about nuclear weapons, which I am, as well as a mother of 4 young children. But the thing that I think that we should all concern ourselves with is the level of violence that seems to be building up rapidly in the British Isles or the United Kingdom, such as, you know, I have a small daughter, 6, and I can't even let that child go beyond the garden gate now because I'm so worried about her. I mean, an 8-year-old child, 10-year-old, sorry, can go to the shop a few hundred yards from her own home and go missing. I also have an 8-year-old and 9-year-old boy who I am extremely worried about, you know, some drug abuse and all these terrible things that they can be coaxed into. And a much smaller child as well, who I obviously have other fears for in the future. And I think that we should all be concerning ourselves with the threat to the community within our own British Isles and forget about the bigger threat. I realise obviously it's a horrible threat and it's a bigger threat, but I think the threat of the violence, the drug abuse, the rape, the child abuse that's going on, and the vast amount of it that's going on in this country at the moment is a far, far more important thing than the nuclear issue.
Let me put to you that you've raised 2 particular arguments, but by saying that the internal problems, and I'll deal with that suggestion in a moment, but for the time being we'll just assume you're correct, the internal problems of the British Isles are far more important than the proposed or suggested external problems created by the threat of nuclear attack or otherwise other form of attack from elsewhere. Now, is that a fair summary of your second point?
Yes, I just, please don't get me wrong, I realise that nuclear, I went through a stage before the children were sort of 8 and 9 and 7, almost 7, I went through a stage of, oh God, you know, nuclear war and oh, how horrible. But now I realise that the things that are happening sort of within the UK then.
Okay, well, it does seem then that I've understood your point.
Yeah.
Well, Tracy, of course, in respect to the point of nuclear arms, it is important, absolutely imperative, that the people of Britain make up their mind for themselves. We'll worry about what the government does about it later, but each individual person, particularly adults and those about to become adults, ought to consider the issue, because, of course, if we sorted out the other problem that you suggest exists, of the internal crime within Britain, violent crime particularly, but crime altogether, if we made Britain to be peopled and populated by totally innocent, non-criminal people, it would make no difference if some other nation could then, by force, take control of us. So the issue is an important one, is it not?
Oh, yes, it's a very important issue.
Okay, well, that's all I'm asking you to consider. I don't want you to debate it, because that's not what you're most concerned about.
No.
You're most concerned about the rising crime rate, particularly in the form of violent crimes. And you're absolutely right. That crime rate is rapidly growing. Indeed, it's very nearly doubled in recent years. However, we still, as I said last night, we have to put it in perspective. And the truth is that whilst there were, let's say, a handful of physical attacks against children yesterday, there were many, many millions of children that were not so attacked. And statistically, although the statistics show that the crime rate is growing, the numbers of people who are victims of crime still remains a minuscule proportion of society. So that should go, hopefully, some way to abate your immediate fears.
Yes. It's not just the attacks on children, Alan,
Well, no, you mentioned violence altogether, and I accept that.
Youngsters themselves, I mean, the youths themselves as well.
Yes.
Youths that seem to, for some reason, which I have my own view on.
Well, let us hear that view, Tracy.
Well, what I think, Alan, is that there is not enough stability within the family nucleus these days.
When you say stability, what do you mean?
Well, I think that a number of things have happened, would you agree, in the last 30 years, that, one, more mums are going out to work, so that when the kiddies come home from school, mum isn't there with the tea ready and the stability and the...
If I might just interrupt a moment, Tracy, if that was so, if that was a major contributing factor, as you suggest, the fact that 3.5 million more parents are at home would mean that there would be a correspondent reduction in crime of children in the age group to which you allude.
Well, I was coming to that as my second issue.
Well, okay, well, all right, but those, you say it's parental care. Well, all right, we'll deal with unemployment in a moment, but you say it's parental care that is lacking, but of course there are more parents at home now to give still more care, so perhaps the two cancel each other out.
No, I think...
Well, there are not 3.5 million more women going out to work. The truth is there are 3.5 million less people going out to work.
I think that more mums have to go out to work because dads are sort of... I know that the dads at home, like you said, there's a contrast here. I mean, there's two conflicting things here. We know that there are how many million unemployed, more unemployed, but that's another stress level as well. The ones that are unemployed, they're under stress, so that reflects on their children. So the children are living in a stressful situation.
Then what do you think is the answer, Tracy? Because we've got about 10 seconds before the news. What do you think is the answer?
I think that there needs to be a lot more stability within the family nucleus.
OK, we'll accept that as a statement.
Together.
Thanks very much, Tracy.
Thank
Ta-ra.
you. Bye.
11 o'clock news time.
11 o'clock news, this is Steve Allen. An Arab woman described as an explosives expert is suspected of planting the bomb which blew a hole in a TWA jet over Greece, killing 4 people.
I'm Norman Howard from the Little Window Company, the specialist in...
The Red Rose Radio Great Northwestern Half Marathon and 4.5 mile fun run will take place on Sunday the 8th of June. Both runs are sponsored by Bell Cuisine and will raise money for the Heartbeat Appeal. A commemorative medal will be awarded to all the finishers. For an entry and sponsorship form, forward a stamped addressed envelope to the Heartbeat Headquarters, 17A Friargate, Preston, PR1 2AU, or collect the forms from Red Rose Radio reception.
Ring him if you dare.
Allan Beswick, the Late Night Show.
Preston 561,000 to take part.
24 hours a day, Red Rose Radio.
How do, Joan? Hello, Joan.
Hello?
Hello, it's John, not Jones. So
Yeah.
no wonder you wouldn't answer. How do?
I'd like to talk about the women at Greenham Common, please.
Go on.
I think they're just wasting the time. Because, I mean, the government's not going to take any notice of them, are they?
Well, this was said last evening, but of course the government will take notice if enough people in the community tell the government to take notice, and the only way you will get the people in the community to do that is to draw attention to the situation. I mean, for example, are you completely aware that the nuclear weapons housed at Greenham Common can be fired by the Americans?
Yeah.
And you heard the news at 11 o'clock, didn't you?
Yeah.
There are 4 British people seriously ill because the Americans shot them.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they shoot them? Because they're thick. They're as thick as pigmuck, the American army. In Vietnam, the Yanks killed more Yanks than the Viet Cong did, because they don't know what they're doing. They're crap. And they've got nuclear weapons on our territory, and one day they're going to wipe out Scotland with the pigging things, because they're gobheads.
Well, I think that's the Prime Minister's fault, really, for that.
Well, it may well be the Prime Minister's fault, but nobody's going to change it by sitting on the bums and doing bog all. How do, Mark?
Right, Alan.
What do you want?
I think the price of computer games are too dear.
Well, don't buy any then. How do, David?
Hello? I'd like to talk about nuclear weapons.
What do you want to say?
Well, don't you think if there's no...
That's a question. Goodbye. How do, Andrew?
Hi, this is Andrew Colley from Bolton. I'd just like...
We don't use other people's names, nor do we use areas. Goodbye. Hello, Christopher? Speak or forever hold yourself to pieces. I see. How do, Christopher?
You are egg.
Yes or no? It doesn't really matter though, does it? Because no one will hear you now, jerk. How do, Karen?
I'd like to point out that the law is biased as it prevents innocent law-abiding women from protecting themselves against armed attackers with weapons with which without they are often totally defenceless. Because I think they should be able to carry a weapon, for example scissors or hairspray, to protect themselves against potential attacker.
The problem is that if we start permitting women to carry weapons, then we've got to start allowing men who feel threatened to carry weapons. And of course, some thug could argue that he was afraid of being attacked. And so, can you imagine the situation? A football hooligan is brought before the magistrates for carrying an axe to a football match. And he says, well, you see, Your Honour, I'm carrying the axe because I'm scared. Right?
Yeah.
So we couldn't allow that, could we? We could not give somebody the option of that defence.
Yeah, but they could do it just for women.
Well, unfortunately, Karen, in this case at least, unfortunately, I don't agree with you, because there are women out there who commit violent attacks against other people, other women, men. That happens. Secondly, we cannot in this country anymore have laws that are different for both sexes. We cannot permit that. It's sexual discrimination.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want to see sexual discrimination increased, would you?
No.
No. So you're actually against it, aren't you?
No, I'm not. Well,
you've got to have one or the other. Now, there is nobody stopping you. No one at all stopping you from carrying a comb.
no, but if you use it, then it's counted as a weapon, and you're not, and then you'll be...
If you used your comb as a weapon of defence in an attack, it is almost certain that the courts would consider that to be self-defence. Almost certain. No one can guarantee what the courts will decide. But I would put, if I were a gambling man, more money on the chances of you being allowed to argue that it was defence. Now, if you carry the comb and you start a fight and use the comb in a fight, then I think there is every possibility of the magistrate saying, I'm sorry, you used it as a weapon.
Yeah, but then they couldn't prove it anyway.
Well, they couldn't prove it, but in actual fact, they don't have to prove it. They only have to establish that that is probably true beyond reasonable doubt. Now, if you go in and have an argument with some other female or a bloke in a club, and then you suddenly drag out your comb and ram it through his or her chest, the magistrates will have some difficulty in understanding or believing your self-defence claim. But if somebody attacks you and starts tearing at your clothing in a dark alley at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you shove your comb through his face, then I think the magistrates may well sigh a sigh of glee and say, well, isn't it sad for the poor rapist?
No, there is a problem with the other transfer, of the other side, because the flip side, you're only supposed to use a reasonable amount of force.
Indeed, you are only supposed to use a reasonable amount of force, and so it does depend on the severity of the attack. But what is a reasonable amount of force is a very, very moot point.
But then, you can blind someone by saying, stabbing scissors in their eyes.
Indeed, you can. But if that is a reaction to a moment of terror, then it may well be, I for one wouldn't approve of it, but it may well be acceptable to offer that as a defence, and the defence may well convince the magistrates or the jury.
Yeah. But also, say having an animal as a guard, such as a dog. Like recently...
Well, again, Karen, there is no law in this country that prevents you as an individual from having a dog. Now, if that turns out to be a snarling German Shepherd, we're not allowed to call them Alsatians anymore, it seems, but if that turns out to be a snarling German Shepherd, then so be it, as long as that dog doesn't attack people willy-nilly, and only on the one occasion attacks somebody who is attempting to molest you, then that is acceptable.
But recently, after an old woman was walking around somewhere in town at night in the dark, and a group of people attacked her, and they didn't realise that she had an Alsatian dog with her.
Were they blind, these people?
Pardon?
Were these people blind that attacked her? It's not easy to not see an Alsatian dog.
No, but they're probably so busy...
Does she have it in her pocket?
No.
Well, where was this pigging dog? She's walking along with an Alsatian dog and they don't see it. How come they managed to see her to attack her? Don't be ludicrous.
No, just because the dog is with her doesn't mean to say they didn't see it. I mean, they had to see it. I mean, obviously...
Well, you actually said, Karen, I only have your story, you see. You said they didn't know she had a dog with her.
Yeah, they didn't notice the dog. It probably wasn't exactly by her side. It might have been around the corner. It might have been...
In other words, it wasn't in control.
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Well, that's what you see. You grab. I'm sorry, Karen. You cannot criticise. No, Karen. You cannot criticise the law in the way you are doing when you're not actually talking about a woman who took her dog with her for protection. You're talking about a woman who lets her dog run loose when she takes it out for a walk, and that dog, when running loose, then chose of its own volition to protect her. Now, some would say that was the right course of action for the dog, but we must first of all look at why it was there, how it was there. Had she been using the dog for protection, she'd have had it on a lead by her side, and I feel sure is very unlikely that she would have been attacked. So that was the specifics of that particular case, as outlined by you. I didn't read about it, I only have your information. But we cannot allow people, any people, to go onto our streets with a general right to arm themselves. That's how it started in America, and there's a situation now in America where during the course of this conversation 20 people were murdered.
Yeah, but...
Well, but, no, yeah, buts.
Yeah, but without...
Armaments, I'm sorry, armaments merely bring about more violence.
That's just your point of view.
That is not my point of view. You can check any country where sidearms are permitted and you will find that the death rate from sidearms is massive. Massive.
However, without weapons...
There are no withouts. I'm sorry, Karen. You cannot statistically support your point of view that arming or allowing women to arm themselves would actually reduce crimes against women. It would not work.
They would have less chance of being attacked themselves when the actual attacker attacked them. They would...
Karen, Karen, the crime of rape is endemic in America. Women in America carry guns. Women in America carrying guns get raped more often than women in Britain who carry no armaments at all. Those statistics defeat your argument entirely. There are no buts, Karen. If you can overcome that statistical fact, then I'll listen. If you can't, you are on a loser.
The crime in this rate's increasing anyway.
It is increasing, but that doesn't overcome the statistical fact. It is even not increasing as greatly as it is increasing in America. So overcome that statistical problem. You cannot. Quite. Good night.
Bye.
Stephen, we'll be with you after the break. Stephen.
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk about football hooliganism for me.
Well?
I went to Anfield on Monday. I'm a Manchester City supporter. On the way back coming out of Hedge Hill...
Sorry, we don't want to do any of this. First of all, it's Hedge Hill, and secondly, we don't have anything to do with football on this programme. If you'd have talked about football hooliganism, we might have permitted it, but as soon as you start mentioning football teams, we don't want you on. Hello, Jeremy. Hello, Jamie, not Jeremy. Oh, well, he's gone anyway. I'll do Kevin.
Hello?
What kept you?
Yeah.
Be there on time next time. Hello, Ian.
He said Kevin, didn't it?
What do you want? What's your name?
Kevin.
Is it? Well, what do you want?
I've heard you're a rather fat person.
Well, yes, you've heard right. I'll do Ian.
Hello. Listen, I live in Southport, and last Sunday we were descended on by a mob of hooligans from Liverpool. They wrecked the pleasure land and put 5 people in hospital with stab wounds and gunshot wounds. What could we do to stop it? British Rail giving the Awayday fare for £18.
I don't think you can blame it on British Rail. They could have got the bus there. Don't talk stupid. If you're going to stop it, you stop it in very many other ways, but you don't do it by closing down the trains.
How?
How is for you to decide. But we don't stop it by shutting down the trains.
No, I'm not saying shut down the trains.
Well, what are you saying then? Take away the Awayday?
No, the thing is...
Well, what are you saying?
I'm just saying there were kids, young kids between...
Well, we accept all that. Why are you blaming British Rail? Or Merseyrail, to be more specific?
Well, normally we don't have a cheap away fare like this. Because the cheap away fare was issued, they came down in hordes. I was there with my wife and my chap.
You seem to be implying, Ian, that the only people that came on that Awayday fare were hooligans, which obviously is crap. Or are you telling me that Southport is a place that only attracts hooligans, that other people wouldn't want to travel there?
The thing is, Southport's very convenient for Liverpool.
And Southport is convenient for Oswestry. It's convenient for America if you're prepared to have the minor inconvenience of flying over the Atlantic. Let us not talk silly. I asked you a question. Answer the question. Are you suggesting that the only people that took advantage of British Rail's Awayday cheap return were hooligans?
No.
Right. So it was perfectly correct for them to offer that service to the public. The fact that a section of the public decided to cause havoc and wreak havoc in Southport when they were there is immaterial as far as the British Rail are concerned. Are you suggesting that we put barbed wire and walls up and make passports for people to get into Southport? Because that would go some way to limiting it, but it'd knacker your tourist industry.
True enough, true enough. But the thing is, I mean, women, kids, families enjoying themselves were terrorised by these scousers that were there. What can we do to stop it?
What do you want to do to stop it?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking you.
Well, I don't answer questions of that ilk. If you haven't got any ideas, then I'm not prepared to supply you with any.
Oh, thanks very much, Alan.
Pleasure. I'll do Dennis.
What do you call a scouse with 9 O-levels?
I don't know what you call him and I don't care. Hello, Keith.
Hello, Alan.
Go to bed. I'll do Alan. I'll do Stuart.
Hello.
Turn your radio off. Now.
Hello.
Turn your radio off now. You've lost your chance. Goodbye. We'll have a little break instead. It's got to be better than talking to the crap that's on tonight.
Looking at Leo's Carpets for a beautiful new look in 86. We have the very best selection of carpets in the area, including a lion-size range of wool carpets. In fact, if you can't find a carpet to suit you at Leo's, we don't think you'll find one anywhere. Leo's Carpets open 6 days and late night Thursday at Cherry Tree Blackburn, just 15 minutes from Preston, Chorley and East Lancs.
Leo's Carpets, Leo's Carpets.
Easy to get to and no problem parking.
Lancaster's picturesque canal-side pub, The Water Witch, has reopened after undergoing extensive refurbishment. The Water Witch has lots to offer. Apart from the ideal location and warm, friendly atmosphere, you'll be able to enjoy bottled beers by Budweiser, Fisher and Beck's, or Castlemaine 4X, Foster's, Beck's, Blackthorn Autumn Gold Cider and house wine on draft. There's a comprehensive menu available too, including vegetarian dishes and, of course, traditional pub games. Call into the superb Water Witch today on the Canal Towpath by Lancaster Infirmary.
Hello, Tom.
Tom? Yeah. Alan, about television licences. Do you think it's right to pay 50?
Question. If you want to give me an answer, please do. Give me what you think.
Well, what I think is this. I've just paid my TV licence today, £58, and for the rubbish that they put on, I think it's absolutely wrong.
Well, Tom...
Is there an independent party that can look into this?
What do you mean, an independent party?
Well, surely we should have the right, as licence payers, to receive their rubbish. We should have the right to say, well, look, what about putting something on for us?
The answer you'll get from the BBC is if you want better quality programmes on television, then you will have to pay more for them.
Yeah, true, but I mean...
Well, there's no doubt. It is absolutely true. And what do you get for your licence fee, Tom?
Well, obviously we get a wide variety, don't we?
What do we get?
We can cover everything, really.
What else do you get?
Sports, films, entertainment.
What does the licence fee pay for?
It pays for the entertainment they put over to us.
Yes, and how do they put that entertainment over?
Well, in numerous ways, really, in expensive ways. I know certain programmes cost more than others.
Well, it seems that I'm not going to get you to say what I was trying to get you to say. Obviously, you're not aware. It doesn't just pay for television. It pays for 5 radio stations broadcast to every area as well.
Yeah, I was going to bring that into it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. I can't imagine why you didn't in the first place.
Okay,
It provides you with 2 television channels, plus breakfast television, plus 5 different radio stations in this area.
Yeah. Well, don't you think there should be some cut somewhere along the line, just to get this fee down a little bit?
Of course they should.
I.e., you know, radio...
Yeah, it's easy.
No one wants to listen to that.
The fact is that the BBC have an obligation to provide a service to all the community.
Yeah.
Now, if you get rid of Radio 3 and Radio 4... and get rid of Radio 3, get rid of Radio 4... Now, I quite honestly would like to see the end of Radio 1, because it's crap. There again, there are an awful lot of programmes on BBC One that I'd like to see got rid of. I'd like to see all the light entertainment done away with, and the BBC specialising what they're best at, and that is serious broadcasting. Unfortunately, other people want it a different way.
Yes. Well,
so what the licence fee has to do is to supply the funds for everybody to have some benefit from what is on. Now, the fact that you want to want end-to-end Paul Daniels doesn't satisfy me whatsoever, so I'm entitled to decent programming too.
Correct. We've got to cater for all taste.
Of course we have. Now, for 58 quid, you are getting the best bargain you will ever get.
I know.
The best bargain.
What I'm trying to say is I don't particularly like independent programmes in as much as sponsored by advertising all the time. I would like to see, if they're in financial difficulty, which I reckon they always are, every financial year the BBC is trying to push the licence back up again, never leaving it on a stable level.
Well, inflation happens in television and radio as well, you know.
Yes, but surely, like, falling stations, like, let's say BBC Two's in trouble. Surely they could bring a little few adverts into...
well, a little few adverts, fine. What do you think would happen if they put advertising on Radio 2?
On Radio 2?
Yeah. Well, BBC 2 then. Were you on about BBC 2?
Yeah, BBC 2.
No, I thought you said Radio 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So they put advertising on BBC 2. Do you really think people are going to queue up to advertise in a minority medium? Well, do you or don't you?
Well, no.
And who's going to sell that advertising?
No.
Let me give you a comparison.
Yeah.
This radio station has to employ double the number of people that are employed at our counterpart across the road.
Yeah.
Because we've got to employ salesmen. We have as many salesmen and accounts people as we've got presenters and producers. Now that would mean that for BBC 2 to take advertising, they would have to employ people to do accounts. They would have to employ people to take in the revenue by going out and advertising. They would have to have agents all over the country. They would have to supply those salesmen, agents, call them what they will, with cars, with telephones, with offices, and you would eventually end up with an astronomical bill.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to pay that bill?
Well, what I was trying to get to in the beginning, should there be an investigation as to where all this money is going?
There is an investigation underway at this moment, chaired by Sir Something Peacock. It's called the Peacock Commission, and it will be reporting sometime this year.
Right. Because, you know...
Well, there's you wanted an investigation? There is one. What else have you got to say?
Well, I worked in a big hotel, and always the BBC crew were there.
Fine.
By God, they have some fantastic times, and I'm thinking that's my money paying for that. And they're only camera crew and, technicians and...
Well, are you suggesting then that what should happen is people in the BBC should work for peanuts and be treated like dogs? Is that what you'd like to see?
No, but it seems to me they're having the best hotels, the best of this... And
well, why should they not?
It's only...
Why shouldn't they?
All right, well, it's an half-an-hour programme. And they're there about 4 days.
Yes.
Maybe 5 days. Maybe
it takes that much time. I'll tell you something. This very day, I made a video, 5 minutes long. That's all the video was, 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
I was there from 2 o'clock till 5 o'clock. 3 hours to make one video, 5 minutes long. And we had, eventually, to rush it. But you see, it's easy sitting outside looking in, Tom, to say, they're wasting this, they're wasting that, they're wasting the other. Allow me to tell you that producing entertainment is a very, very time-consuming business.
Yeah. I know I was talking to Frank Carson's once, and he told me, he said, for the comedians, he said, listen, he said, I've been going all week. He said, they've picked one joke.
Right.
And I've been travelling all day, every day to Grenada.
Right.
He said, and they've picked one joke.
Well, Tom, are you now suggesting that the BBC ought to do it quicker than that?
No, really, I was just thinking, it seems...
Tom, it seems to me that you're just griping. Well, you've had your gripe. The investigation is underway. I hope none of the things you want to see ever happen, because there's enough crap in the industry. We don't need any more.
Yeah, all right.
How do, Keith?
Hello? Alan?
Yes?
Could you tell me last night, that fella came on with the joke about the microwave?
Sure he did.
I couldn't hear what he said.
Well, you'd be wondering what I was laughing at then.
Could you just tell me what he said, please?
Certainly not. I don't steal other people's jokes. How do to Dave?
Hello, Alan.
Yep.
I'd like to talk about racism. You made the comment before that all Americans are idiots.
I didn't. I said the American troops are idiots.
Why all the American troops?
Because they keep bombing each other.
No, they haven't bombed each other.
No, they didn't. They bombed some people walking on a public footpath today, but in Vietnam they were bombing each other with amazing regularity.
But was that all the American troops bombing them?
No, it wasn't. But if we're going to have them on our soil, I want every one of them to be good enough to be here, and none of them are, so I want them all at home. And if you think's that racist, pardon?
Why are none of them?
I think that's something the American troops ought to consider, don't you?
It's a racist comment to say all the...
Well, I don't care if it's a racist comment. If the fact is that the American army is crap, then I'll just have to be racist and say so. But when people are dying at the hands of the American army because they can't see straight, or because they can't shoot straight, or because they can't control themselves, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. The fact is, it's there, it exists, there is evidence.
But they've helped us through too.
But, I don't want to hear all this bullcrap but. It doesn't matter. The American armed forces are crap. They are incompetent, bundling killers.
Tell Colonel Gaddafi that.
Tell Colonel Gaddafi that. You think they got that right? Do you actually think they got that right?
Well, they showed him how to do it.
They showed him how to do what? Kill people? Is that something to be proud of? They are crap. Absolute crap. They're not worth a note. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
American troops, the nerds. How do Stephen? Goodbye, Stephen. How do Joe?
Hello? Alan?
Yes?
I was just wondering what you thought about the phone.
Well, you'll have to just wonder, won't you? We don't answer questions to start conversation. You don't got the nous to think of it yourself, then get off. Hello, John.
Brian.
Thank you. How do Rob?
Hello, Al. Good evening. How are you?
Very well. Nice of you to ask. We'll be with our next caller called Paul after the break.
Hello. I'm Norman Howarth from the Little Window Company. We undertake the manufacturing and installation of the very best double glazing using the finest quality British materials and experienced craftsmen. We are sure you'll find us cheaper than larger companies too. Because we are a small local concern, we don't subcontract or employ any pressure salesmen, which means we can operate on very low overheads and pass on extra savings to you. Contact me at the small company with a big reputation, the Little Window Company at Preston Road, Longridge. Phone Longridge 4319. That's 4319.
April in Paris is everyone's dream, and now thanks to Red Rose Radio and National Travel World, it can be yours. On Friday the 18th of April, we will depart from the Red Rose area by luxury coach with a champagne send-off, heading for the luxurious Penta Hotel in Paris, where you will spend 2 nights with continental breakfast provided before your return late Sunday evening. At £89 per head, you can afford to make your April in Paris dream come true by contacting your nearest branch of National Travel World today or Red Rose Radio Reception.
Hello, Rob.
Hello?
Hello, Paul.
Hiya, Al. Can I talk about leaflets to get through your door, please?
We'll see.
Yeah, well, is there any way you can get them stopped? Because my mum's getting a bit fed up with them, you know.
Yeah, seal up your letterbox. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Alan. Yeah, I'd just like to say I think Colonel Gaddafi's doing a brilliant job.
What at?
Well, I mean, look, he's keeping the security systems on the toes, isn't he?
Blitzing people and killing them is no way to keep the security services on their toes.
Well, I think he's doing a great job, personally.
In that case, you must approve of the IRA as well.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're a jerk. How do, Toby?
If you ring the wireless Red Rose, you could win a tracksuit, who knows? You can also phone in Beswick's Nightline of Sin and get tortured like a stamp on the toes.
Thank you very much, Toby.
You're welcome.
I've bought one of them jugs that looks like you. Ta-ra.
All right.
How do, Jabnab?
Hello, Alan. Can you say how do to me, mate?
No, we don't do dedications. You must have learnt that by now. Perhaps you...
Commencing the 4th of April at the Wigan Little Theatre, Barry England's successful play, Conduct Unbecoming.
Quiet, smooth running, combined with outstanding economy is a major feature of the diesel range of new Toyotas. John Wilding has the 3 diesel-engine model Toyotas in stock now and ready to test drive. The 4-litre Land Cruiser, the 2-litre Carina and turbocharged 2-litre Camry have power steering, 5-speed gearboxes and luxurious interiors as standard equipment too. Arrange a test drive in the fabulous diesel Toyota.